It's August, cheese of the month.
How's it going, y'all?
Okay, the pause was because we had a discussion that I think we enter every single one with,
Hey, y'all.
So I was like, we can't do that again.
Happy August Cheese of the Month Club.
And then we're here. Okay, I am thrilled.
So excited.
If this is your first time with us, hi, I'm Kendall.
And I'm John.
Antonelli's of Antonelli's Cheese Shop in Austin, Texas. Okay, so this month we are going to Italy. So for everybody who wanted to travel, I love seeing those of you who got to travel. Some of us didn't get to do that or weren't sure that it was time or whatever. So there's no judgment, but I have seen travel pictures from other people and I'm like,
wonderful.
My heart, be still my heart. So
Wish I was there with them.
Yes, this is your little trip to Italy to specifically one producer. This is a Meet the Maker, and we are going to
Northern Italy in Lombardy to Quattro Portoni, which is just about 30 minutes east of Milan. And so there are some really good flights from Austin in, you can connect through Heathrow or whatever. You land in Milan, 30 minutes later, you're on this farm. And typically we've used some of these cheeses in Cheese of the Month clubs in the past. But I really wanted to spotlight them this year because COVID was really hard for them. That if you remember the very beginning of the pandemic, that northern part of Italy was one of the hot epicenters where hospitals were over capacity, mortality rate was really high.
Okay, I feel like we don't need to relive it. Meaning,
Sure.
There was a bad spot,
particularly
bad place,
for
and
this
they
family.
were hit. Yeah.
And so we wanted to spotlight them because they are amazing. They're wonderful people.
The other reason that you oftentimes get one or two of these cheeses, actually maybe
Just
one of these, because these we try to carry in our case because they're some of our favorites. Don't tell the others. One of the reasons is because we always want to put different milk types on there, and so cows, sheep, goat, and then water buffalo. But oftentimes we don't have access. There isn't that much water buffalo milk cheese available in the United States. And so this is one of the easier ways that we get to showcase them is through this producer.
And so we are really excited to be with you today. I'm excited to start eating.
I know, let's do it.
So,
let's just dive in. We don't need to intro y'all. Y'all got this. You're pros by now.
So Bruno and Alfo. So do you want to go through the history a little bit, or you want me to?
I just like interrupting you when I want.
Okay, fantastic.
Family run, family operation.
Since the 70s. So their parents had started this farm in Italy, and they were doing cow's milk. That was the tradition. In Lombardy, oftentimes it's predominantly cow's milk. And they were doing liquid milk for a very long time. And when the father passed down the dairy to these two sons, two of the four sons, they were, the liquid milk market just wasn't there. They couldn't cover the bills. They just couldn't grow. And so what they decided to do is something entirely different. They decided to look at the historical cheese making of southern Italy, the European animal, the water buffaloes, particularly a type of
Asiatic water buffalo that ended up through migration in Italy.
And so,
which is why you have water buffalo milk cheeses like Cuadrello Du Bufala in southern Italy.
And so they decided to look at a new milk type. And so they actually went to a local farm area. They bought 40 water buffalo, brought it onto the property.
And it is not, as the daughter of cattle ranchers, it is not an easy operation like, we had dairy cows, let's get rid of them and let's do water buffalo. It's a whole new operation. Everything about it is completely different.
Completely.
Okay.
And when you think
I just like to jump in with those.
When you think about cheese making, there's really, 4 ingredients that go into making cheese. There's the milk as the primary, there's starter cultures, there's rennet, and then there's salt. So 4 ingredients. And if you change one of those, you have to change all of the recipes. So they got some really good advice to start developing some new recipes and playing with traditional things. So what makes them really special is instead of just making the classic Cuadrello Du Bufala and competing with thousands of other cheesemakers in Italy, they decided to take some really classic recipes like Taleggio, cacho, and some blue, and actually create those new recipes using water buffalo milk. So they had to change their approach entirely to make recipes that work, and they hit home runs. And so some of our, this cheese that we're going to talk about in a minute, the second cheese, is we knew before we opened.
Jump into it.
Okay, I'm going to take a bite then instead.
Okay, we're building it up. The point is to say, these are truly some of our favorite cheeses that when I sit down and somebody's like, what are you craving? I'm craving this. Our first cheese tonight, and if we haven't just straight out said that this is from Quattro Portoni, which means 4 walls, also has that symbolism because of the 4 brothers, but in that area. The Quesada Du Bufala, we in our shop say it's in the soft ripened bloomy rind. It could also be semi-soft.
Like a tome.
Like a tome style.
Depending on the wheel that you get.
This, and it comes in a square, a brick.
More like a rounded brick.
Yeah, rounded,
Pudgy grip.
Paver, like a paver. And this one today is, first of all, this is tasting one of the best that I can remember, the Quesada Du Bufala. And it has this yellow mold on it and this yellow flowering. And sometimes with cheeses, you'll even get a little tag on it that says, notice the yellow flowering. And this is specifically those molds and spores that are growing it in those ambient caves, and that makes it unique to itself. So yes, you can eat this rind. Eat the inside first, try it. It's so creamy. I loved eating the rind on the outside. I can see that you're not going for the rind as much right now.
I had a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so it will, but try that inner, this is all about that fudgy, that inner paste that, I don't know, it's everything.
And sometimes, what's really fun about this cheese is something that if you touch, it's very fudgy. Sometimes you'll actually get a little bit of like cream line to it. You'll get a more of a softer texture, which is pretty cool. So
water buffalo milk cheese is known for like this wet hay, tanginess, grassiness to it, and a little bit of a funk, but not I don't think of it as a barnyardy funk that's in goats, but more just that tanginess to it.
There's
sometimes like grass
cellar.
right after it's been mowed.
Damp cellar, too. And that's in there tonight.
It's like so good, I couldn't stop eating it. Okay.
That's a good piece of cheese. The mold, the yellow, the white, all good.
And this is all sexy, all about that texture, all day long. Okay, so.
Yeah, and it's aged about 40 days. Travels across by boat to get to us. We buy a ton of this. Love selling it.
You can taste water buffalo milk cheese is the richest in fat compared to goats the least, then cows, really depends on the breed too, then sheep, and then water buffalo. So it's just super rich.
This is awesome.
Yeah. Oftentimes bloomy rinds, I will stay away from red wines, but I think that this would be delightful with a red wine tonight. And really showcase it. Okay, so we went from our bloomy rind or soft ripen.
Oh.
Next, we're gonna go, as John was saying, I just didn't want to give away the big reveal. This was the second cheese we knew we were ever going to carry in our shop.
Right.
Cuadrello Du Bufala. Quadrello, meaning quad or square, that's what lets you know this one comes in a square. Cuadrello Du Bufala is a washed rind cheese. This one is one of their first ones that is actually styled after Taleggio. So Taleggio is a washed rind cheese from the Lombardy region, only traditionally made with cow's milk. This one is water buffalo. And when it's washed rind, often it has that sunset hue rind on the outside, kind of orange, red, wet, pinkish. These are oftentimes you're a little bit more funky. You're trying to create the growth of a bacteria known as B linens or brevibacterial linens, in addition to the other ambiance that lands on it and grows from the cheese. How's it tasting tonight?
A little bit of acid, bread, butter.
A little bit, if you go from the first one to the second one, a little more meaty, a little more savory.
Especially with the rind.
I'm getting split pea and ham soup. I don't know why. I'm tasting that and a little sweetness on the end too.
A little honey and soy. It's lovely. So
this rind will be a little bit thicker and harder to eat.
And as Kendall said, this is an interpretation of Taleggio. So Taleggio is world famous. It's really hard to age a square piece of cheese because the corners don't age exactly in the same way as the rest of the cheese. So it takes a lot of skill. And Cuadrello,
because as a cheese, sorry, just to break that down a bit, as a cheese is aging, the process of affinage or cheese maturation, people are regularly tinning that cheese. They're flipping it, they're wiping it down, depending on what style. And it's about controlling the rate of moisture loss. And if it's in a uniform shape, it can almost all go out more easily. Especially like triangular ones, it's really hard to get that, keep that uniform shape.
So we were really blessed to get to spend an afternoon with Bruno and his family at the dairy. It's farmstead. So they have the water buffalo are right there on the property. They are big, beautiful animals, big horns. They are sweet and wonderful.
And docile.
And docile. But they are incredibly muscular and they are big. And so we had our daughter, I guess she would have been about 4 at the time, and our son that was 6. And we got to walk the property.
And they're a little bit fearless, and they're used to their parents' cattle ranch, and they wanted to run up and pet them.
And we just go pet the water buffalo, and it was like, oh, the horn is the size of your entire body, so probably not.
And Bruno was just saying, you know, if they swat a fly, it can just take you down. Yeah. And so they're just, even though they're so more docile, he said, than dairy cows, that their strength, they just don't know their own size and strength.
And they were raising some of the calves on the property, so really taking care of them. And then they gave us the opportunity to walk through the cheese plant and actually visit and see what they make. And this next cheese is the cheese that they were making when we came to visit. It was cacho cavalla.
Cacho cavalla.
And this is a pulled
cavalla.
curd cheese. So think about mozzarella as a classic pasta filata, pulled curd. And you basically take those curds and under hot water, you stretch them. And what it does is it binds the calcium. It changes some of the texture and flavor. And what's super cool about cacho cavalla, it was often considered, it would be considered this very particular
elastic
shape. Yeah, the elastic shape, texture. But this very cool shape. And they would actually tie it, it's a big like cannonball with a little knob at the top.
Almost like a big teardrop.
Big teardrop. And they wrap horse's hair around that and another one and then drape it over the back of a horse.
So this tastes like an artisanal version of string cheese. Literally, it has that consistency. You could peel it apart. And that is that stretched or pulled curd, the way you make these pasta filata cheeses.
But it was such an incredible process that we got to watch, and the kids, we stood there for 30 minutes.
Show them the pictures, honey.
Well, I might see if I can find a video to add to the end of this.
Oh, okay.
A small snippet of how this cheese was made and pulled, because it's stunning. But in this picture, you can see it. This is the farm. That's our kiddos at the dairy. Some buffalo in the background. There's Bruno and his wife standing over the curds. But here in the background, if you can see, there's the cacho cavalla hanging in the cheesecloth. So pretty amazing experience.
It has to age hanging for 4 months, hanging with that horse hair around, so it's continuing to drain that way.
You get a little bit of mold on the outside because it lives in an environment that has other moldy cheeses. And so this is just a really fun cheese. We don't bring this in that often. My great-grandfather used to eat cacho cavalla every night before bed. And he said, and very true, that it helped keep his teeth healthy. And cheese is a very important part of good dental hygiene. And so
I thought you were going to say like an old wives' tale, or in this case, like an old grandpa's tale, but that is actually proven science that cheese is good for your teeth. So I believe him. It just may not be only cacho cavallo.
No, but this was his cheese that he would eat every night.
Yeah.
So
okay, great. I love it. I love that
Love
story.
it.
And then
Love it.
I'm presuming this is your Italian grandfather, not the German one?
Yes.
Okay, I was going to say, hey, that's... I was surprised by that. All right, so let's move to our last one because we want you to be able to just sit and relax and enjoy these. And we are going to Surfin' Blue, a rare blue cheese made with water buffalo milk cheese.
So this is another square cheese. It's actually more like a block. So they use
Like a big cube.
a big cube. They use the Taleggio molds. This Cuadrello is the traditional Taleggio size, and so they double it to make a cube. And they make Cuadrello Du Bufala, which is one of their classic cheeses. But what's really cool is that they wash these ones, soak them for at least about almost 2 months, they age them for 2 months, but they wash it in an IPA made by a local company, a local Italian company, Birrificio Toccalamata. And so this IPA brings some of those hoppy notes into the core of the cheese. So Blue de Bufala is an intense blue. It's very strong, very powerful, but with that sweet, aromatics of the hops.
So I would pair this with like a citrus forward hops would be fun.
And if you, I don't know if you can see the point of our cheese there? That is a perfect example of where the needles puncture the outside, the inside of the cheese to allow air to get in. We talk about that in our Cheese 101 class, but that's a beautiful example of it. And so,
I get that citrus hops that they say. This would also be fun with like some, orange marmalade. Some sort of...
more acid.
Or candied orange peel. Now I'm going out all the way.
I could do that with buffalo sauce.
It brings in like the sweet note to it.
Yeah, I almost don't need anything else.
No.
Just buffalo sauce.
It tastes like the
and
whole
cheese.
meal. Yeah.
And so that's Quattro Portoni. We are so very grateful to be partners with them, get to share their products with you tonight.
We are sure that they are still, I sound very Texan right now, but still reeling from the effects like many of us are, but we know that they are especially in our hearts because they were especially hit as well.
So thank you so much again for being a part of our family and our club.
We hope if you haven't had a water buffalo milk cheese that now you can say you have and that you love it. Cool.
Y'all, we'll see you next month.
See you in September.
Oh yeah.
Ciao.
Bye.